Jackson, the 2-night documentary. Huh, that's interesting. Huh. Well, it's after our second show of the week, and so even though it's 10:42, a little hyped up because that's what happens after a show. Went very well. Last night went better, I think, but I think last night just had more friends in the crowd, and you know, when the crowd is happy, the performance is better. And when the performance is better, it makes the crowd happy. So it's a win-win when you have a good show. The audience is definitely part of it. You can just you can feel it when you're doing a good job, or when they're not getting it, or when they are getting it. And obviously we don't always know, but even silences can feel like, ooh, they're paying attention, or a silence can feel like, oh, they're asleep. So, you don't really know what other people are feeling, but you definitely, as a performer, feed off the energy of the crowd. So that was a little ad for a 2-night documentary by Janet Jackson. That would be very interesting to watch. I remember Janet Jackson when she was on Fame, the TV show. And Fame, the movie, was a little harder edged, and Fame, the TV show, was a little fluffier. But I wanted to go to a performing arts school, so I enjoyed watching Fame, the TV show. And Janet Jackson was, I guess she sang on it, but I don't remember her singing on it. I just remember her speaking in a really soft little girl voice and being kind of a sympathetic character, and you were wondering why she would be at a performing arts school when she's so shy. But maybe if I watched it now, I would see glimmers of the pop star she became later. I don't know. But I had seen Janet before. I knew, as someone who watched the Jackson 5, and I really wanted a Jackson 5 lunchbox, never got one. That explains a lot. I remember Janet on TV show guest appearances and so forth. The 70s were full of shows where the stars would get together and they would do little skits, and they would sing each other's songs, and they would introduce their families, and they would, have banter back and forth, and dancing, and I just thought it was great. Of course, I was young, but I think if I watched those things now, I think I would still enjoy that, because I like different versions of the same songs, right? So if two stars are singing each other's songs or turning them into a medley or duet, I like that, generally speaking. So I remember Janet coming out as a little girl, and I knew there were more Jacksons than just the 5. And it was always confusing because Michael seemed like the littlest one, but he wasn't the littlest one. And he certainly was the focus. And it's just easier when the big one's the focus or the little one's the focus, as opposed to one in the middle. So, they made him the focus. But anyway, Janet, then she was on a TV show, then she was on Fame. What was she on? Good Times, I think? She was on a show that I did not watch. And then I watched her on Fame. And then I saw her perform Control, the Control album, a medley from that. And I just thought, wow, she's so pretty, she sings so well, she dances so good, she's dressed so nice. I still like the cover for Control. It just seems to evoke the 80s very well. And I like the album Control. There's a unity of all the songs on it. Terry Jam and, what's his name? Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, producers. But as far as her life goes, she was in the shadow of her famous brother and her less famous but famous brothers, and she was in the public eye from very early age, and for her whole life basically. And she had a secret wedding to El DeBarge, or somebody DeBarge. And every time I hear that somebody has a secret wedding, I think of Thomas Hardy and how in that day and age, or at least according to how he depicts that day and age in England, people would have secret weddings. They did that in Romeo and Juliet. It's like, if you can't convince your family to go along with the marriage, then you just convince a priest to marry you, and then they have to go along with it, something like that. I find it very odd, secret marriages. But apparently Janet Jackson had a secret marriage, and then she had her pop success. And I don't think her brother Michael really directed her career. Maybe he did, I don't know. But she certainly worked very hard and was very successful. And then she married an Arab, I was about to say an Arab prince. I don't think he's a prince. I don't know. She married a millionaire, a billionaire, and moved to some Middle Eastern country and had a baby when she was past baby marrying age. She's also had a nose that keeps getting smaller, and interesting looks over the years. So that would be a very good, interesting 2-night event. As you heard, they were plugging it as her telling her own story. And I think it's pretty rare for an artist to tell their own story until they're much older than she is, and to tell it in 2 nights as a documentary. Good for her. I mean, it's not uncommon for somebody to do an interview and to hype it up as being true as opposed to being publicity, but a 2-night documentary, that seems very interesting, and she could certainly fill up those 2 nights with some interesting information. So that's all I know about Janet Jackson. Miss Jackson, if you're nasty. But hey, maybe it'll be a good show. Maybe it'll get good ratings, and maybe she will go out with a bang. Her brother tried to go out with a bang, and that was not the best thing. But I certainly wish her all the best. She's certainly not old yet. She certainly can still dance and sing and shine with her star power. Good for her. All right, everybody. So that's an 8-minute video. It's about 11-ish. And I am done with the video. Good night.